Alright guys, welcome. This is going to be my first video on the channel, and I just want to say a couple things before we get into the topic. So the way that I'm going to be formatting these videos, right? I'm going to just start off by formatting them into some kind of like sit down videos where I'm just talking and we're just talking back and forth and making connections and with the movies that we'll be talking about, shows, whatever. I feel like the sit down type of experience is what's really gonna give this a sort of authentic review. I mean, I've been watching many videos and reviews of movies and shows for so long, and one thing I can easily say is that I sometimes want a format where it's just sit down, just express your thoughts. And since we're on the topic of Toy Story, I know that there's a popular one where this guy rips into Toy Story 4 and talks about all that stuff. I've watched that long video. I know some people disagree with the format, but I personally like it. I kind of think it made it more authentic. It felt more real than just like heavily edited and just, I'm just going to do a straight thing, zero cuts. And that's how we're going to kind of do this. And, okay, so something I just want to say. I'm a big fan of Toy Story. Much like everybody else is. I was born in 2004, so I went to see Toy Story 3 and 4 in theaters, which is 2 of them. I did not see 1 and 2. Obviously, that was before I was born. Now, I'm going to kind of ease into Toy Story 5, okay? That is the main topic of this video, but I kind of also am going to discuss Toy Story 4. So, I'm going to kind of talk about pros and cons, kind of give different thoughts, different ideas that I think would have worked, and then kind of at the end, I'm going to give you a little ranking, give you a full scope of here's my thoughts, here's everything I told you guys, and here is my resolution, and here's my final rating of the movie. I also plan on doing some tier list stuff too. I think tier list stuff is going to be really fun. I like watching tier list videos. I think they're awesome, and Pixar has been a popular one. On Twitter, Toy Story has been all over my feed, so that's what's kind of going to be a little interesting thing to talk about. Okay, so I seen a movie last week, and I've been kind of gathering my thoughts about the movie. And I kind of let everything sit. I had a friend that went to recently go and see it, and he didn't mind it, he didn't hate it, he didn't overly like it. He said it was just decent. I found myself to dislike it a lot, and I think over time I kind of got some new opinions from last week. I filmed the video of this for last week for 45 minutes, and something about it felt more like a rant. And I felt like I'm not giving people an authentic review. I'm overly expressing my opinion to the max, so where it's over exaggerated, and I want it to be real as possible. No pun intended with the channel name, but I want it to be real. I want it to be honest, and I feel like those things that I like, I have to highlight them more. I can't pass them off as like I like this part, but no. If I like a part, I gotta really enjoy it. So, okay, so I want to first start off with the beginning of the movie. So in the beginning is they show these buzzes, all of these buzzes that were meant to be shipped somewhere else. They have like this little Bluetooth enhancement, and it pretty much got like shipwrecked on an island. Then they had to get off of the island and stuff like that. And I don't know. I feel like as an opening scene, it wasn't strong. Because in Toy Story 1, they show this connection between Woody and Andy. In Toy Story 2, it was kind of a different approach. They showed the Buzz playing with Rex playing with the like Buzz Lightyear video game, which was kind of cool because it was like, what movie am I watching right now? And then they kind of show you it was a little bit of a different approach, and I guess this one more aligns with that. In Toy Story 3, they had the full, like, here's Andy, now a little bit older, here's his vision, here's his vision and his imagination when he's playing with these toys, and then they kind of show like a process of him getting older. And then Toy Story 4 kind of showed more about Woody and Andy, and then Woody and Bonnie, and I think it worked. I think it was really cool. But something about the Buzzes being shipwrecked on an island, I just don't know. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel like that it was a really good start. It wasn't meaningful. It was just kind of like, okay, I guess we'll see what this means later. Which they do come back to that obviously throughout the film, but I just don't see why like that is a thing. I'll get into the Buzz Army thing later. I just personally don't really agree with the adding them. I think that kind of should have just been removed. So that's kind of how the movie starts. Now let's talk about what's good. What's good is the animation is flawless. I mean, it's Pixar in 2026. The animation is going to be really, really off the chain, you know. Toy Story 4, though, I know their visuals was a little different, but Toy Story 4 just, in my opinion, was more eye-catching to me. And I think it's because Toy Story 4 had this, like, backdrop of the rain, and it was, like, highlighting colors and lighting. Like, there was big highlight, like, color changes in between the two films. So I think 4 kind of took a different approach. So I want to say it's more of a stylistic choice rather than a animation budget issue, because obviously we know Pixar has a budget, Disney has a budget, and this budget was like $260 million, which was pretty high this time around, and yeah, so that was really cool to see. But you know, I like the opening for Toy Story 4 better. I think so far out of all the movies, Toy Story 5 had the weakest opening. Now one thing I do want to highlight, when they shown Bonnie playing with toys, I really, really do like her own, she has this own like animation style for her imagination of these toys when she's playing. And the reason why I like that is because I think it's really cool. That like Andy had this more action-packed kind of realistic runaway train, and then Bonnie has this more like softer vibe, like of a, you know, I guess like of a little girl. It's more of like a storybook. The colors are different, and I think that's cool. I enjoyed that. I easily can say best part of the movie. Like, you guys knocked it out of the park on that. Not best part of the movie maybe, but I think best, like, showing your design and style changes. That's a really good way of doing it, and I enjoyed that. Yeah, so far that started off great. Now, okay, so we kind of talked about some of those things in the opening that I really liked, and we kind of talked about like the Buzz Army thing. I didn't really enjoy that, but so as the film advances, you know, I think now I kind of want to switch on to just talking about characters. So we obviously know that this film is centered on Jessie, right? I mean, that was pretty obvious. And we have Woody, we have Buzz, which the way Woody is introduced in this movie is kind of weird. We kind of see him doing this like lost toy thing where he's like saving them. He's still saving lost toys like he was that we've seen back and forth. I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool to see like how he's been doing it, and they have this whole operation and system of how they rescue them, and that's his thing. That's his purpose. But how they got Woody there is kind of my issue. I will kind of go into a topic later on, which I'm going to propose my own idea for what I think would have been better for this film, but I want to save that for later because that's going to be a longer conversation. But for now, I'll just say that Woody's introduction in this movie is kind of weird, because basically, kind of give you a little background. And this, you know, kind of give a little background. Jessie is Um, she's in this other yard of her neighbor's house, their neighbor's house, and she's talking to them about and it's this whole like apocalypse vibe of like, oh yeah, the tech devices, they're everywhere, because Bonnie was able to connect with the other kids because they're in the tech and she's in the toys. And they're talking about it, and I think that's cool, right? I think that's really nice to set up this thing in the film, this main topic of this movie, and kind of set it up as like a toys are scared about it, they're hearing about it, and it's like the word of mouth, like everybody's talking about it, like you don't know about the tech takeover. And I do really think that works well. um so Lily Pad gets introduced because her parents buy Bonnie a lily pad, which is like an iPad-ish type of thing, and it's because she's not connecting with other kids, so she needs a way to connect, and that's their way of connecting. So this is where I just kind of start not liking it. So they show Lily's introduction, and they do kind of have this cool parallel of like Jessie and Lilypad with Woody and Buzz in the first film. Like Jessie's kind of like, what the heck is that? And all the toys are looking, and Buzz is, it's like in the trailer as well. And Buzz is like, hey Jessie, I think we should wait. And then Jessie's like, throw Bullseye up on the bed, and she starts approaching the Lilypad, and like, what the heck are you? And all the toys are kind of like afraid of it. It's kind of like, oh wow, this thing is really advanced and really tech heavy. And I think it's cool, right? I do really enjoy that. But I gotta say, so when we get into the whole like, oh, so Jessie's gonna try going in the suitcase with Bonnie to her friend's house because Bonnie made like a friend and connected through the lily pad. And she was going to a sleepover. Jessie is like, I'm still good for her, so I'm going. So she sneaks herself in the suitcase. But before she had done that, the night before, she talked to Woody off of the walkie-talkie. Right? She talked to Woody. Woody's like, yeah, toys are for play, but tech is forever. And says a thing that he says throughout the trailer. Now, this is kind of like a problem of mine. One issue that I've seen with the way that Toy Story 4 to Toy Story 5 moved on was this kind of idea that, like, where is Woody at? Right? Hear me out. So, if we remember, they rented out an RV in Toy Story 4 to go to this, like, road trip and this carnival, right? And that's where Woody gets left at. Well, not left at, but that's where he stays. So, we know Woody's been around all different neighborhoods just saving lost toys. But that was a pretty far walk. Like, that'd be a pretty far distance for him to go. Which I know they kind of drive this, like, little squirrel motorized vehicle thing. But still, how do they know where Bonnie lives? Like, I always wondered that when I was watching the film. I was like, how did they know where Bonnie lives? Like, that was pretty far. That's a hard location to just remember that. Because it's kind of like Toy Story 4. It kind of leaves it off like he ain't coming back. So how would he just be able to, like, arrive? Hey, guys. It's been a long day. So, we have that, right? And then that's when I'm kind of like, so, Woody ends up showing up, but how did he know where Bonnie still lives? I mean, I guess that could have been a thing that they just knew or talked about prior. And also, when did they ever set up the whole walkie-talkie thing? And how are they able to connect so far away? Right? Like, unless I don't know how far Woody is, that's the thing. I'm just kind of making an assumption based off of the last movie. He could have moved and so much closer. We don't know how he's been traveling. I know I'm kind of nitpicking because it is a kids movie and it's plot convenience. It's not really supposed to be thought about. But to me, I'm just thinking about that in my head. It just didn't make sense how Woody is here. Like, in my opinion, we could have done the movie without Woody. We'll get to that too. But yeah, that's just kind of something I noticed and I just didn't really like. So we go throughout the film and we get this lily pad Jesse interaction, and Jesse goes to the sleepover. The kids are all on their lily pads, and Jesse's basically not played with. Um, because the kids are all on tech now. They're not worried about toys. And Jesse, is out, gets left outside after Bonnie's like, I don't want it. I'm good. And, she gets left outside. She gets in like a car with the older lady that sends her back to her original house, Emily's house, which is on like inside of like Jesse's pants type of thing, and it says it. And another thing I found interesting is how close Bonnie is to to Emily's house. Like, I'm just like, that's like very, I guess like I'm thinking geographically of like where everything's located. So it's like, wow, Jesse, you were never far from home. Because to me, like the way Toy Story, the way the location is, it always seemed to me like Jesse was much farther. Like Emily's house was in like, I don't know, somewhere really far, kind of like country type. But at the same time, I mean, there's states where you can go from the country, and like Texas, where you can go from the country and go to just about any location. I mean, in the city, like within 20 minutes. So that's believable. But, so we get this thing where Jesse's like gets sent back to Emily's house, and things happen. We got the Buzz is still on their journey to find Star Command, and they see this picture of Jessie, in which they're like, that's their Star Command because she's wearing a star on her like the side. So this is where I'm like not like in the Buzz Army thing, because now I'm kind of gonna shift this video into like I'm kind of walking step by step of each part of the film. Now I'm just gonna start going into different topics, and it's gonna be a little scattered. So I'm gonna be jumping through different parts of the movie. So the Buzz Army issue. That is one of my biggest things that I talked about since the beginning of this video. And the reason why I didn't really like it is because I felt like it was unnecessary. If we wanted to focus in on Jessie and her emotions of what's going on, I feel like the subplot of the Buzz Army thing was kind of random. And it's like, why do we always need to give Buzz a gimmick? Toy Story 1 wasn't really a gimmick because that was the main part of the film, but Toy Story 2, we had the whole Buzz switch thing with the store Buzz, which is fine, that worked for the film. In Toy Story 3, we had Spanish Buzz, and like he was on like, demo mode. And then Toy Story 4, we had this whole, which I hated, the whole inner voice thing. Like Buzz was listening to his inner voice, and it's like, what? I don't know. I feel like every movie, they feel this weird thing to do something with Buzz. We can just have Buzz be Buzz. Has that ever thought? Like, can we just have Buzz just be Buzz Lightyear? Instead of just some, like, oh yeah, let's make it to where he has his gimmick. And I think that I don't like that, me personally. Like, I didn't like that. I thought the Buzz subplot was just really boring, really random. I did kind of like the scene of the one Buzz getting collected by a kid and all the other Buzzes kind of seeing that he found his purpose. And I think that could have been used to show a stronger point of the film. But to me, they just seem more like an annoyance and like a random thing to disrupt the plot or disrupt the actions of what's going on. And kind of be there for plot convenience. Like at the end of the film when they're all in the sky being lifted up by the Buzzes, and the others get sent back to the house, Jessie gets sent back to Emily's house, which she has this whole operation for Emily and this one girl, kind of forgot the name, to become friends. The girl that lives in Emily's house now. And I just really like, I don't know, like the Buzzes was just kind of being really just annoyance. Like I just didn't feel like they had a reason to be there. Just kind of felt like it was random. But in Buzz, our main Buzz, my problem with main Buzz in this film is that Buzz felt like he was just Jesse's side thing. Like, how can I say this right? Like, his whole thing was, Jesse left me in charge. I'm Jesse's deputy. I'm Jesse's this. I'm Jesse's that. And it got to a point to where it's like, okay, can we make Buzz function as a character without being just obsessed with Jesse or having some different gimmick in each film? Like, I just want a Buzz to be Buzz. Like, Toy Story 2, I felt like was the best version of Buzz that we got. I really like Toy Story 3 Buzz as well. I kind of like how he kind of tries to find this middle ground when they kind of discuss this whole thing between Woody and Buzz of staying over Sunnyside. And, you know, and I like that Buzz went inside that vending machine thing. That was a really cool scene in that movie where he went inside the vending machine and saw them talking, and that's when he said, I want to speak to Lotso. I want to talk to him. I really like that Buzz. I like it when Buzz is more like, not, like more just forward with his actions and just like kind of seeming like this sergeant type of guy. Like very like, I'm the leader of my team, or this co-leader. Like, I care about these are my family. And in this film, I just feel like it was just like Jesse this, Jesse that. And I don't know, I felt like Woody and Buzz's little subplot of getting to Jesse was just very drawn out and just kind of didn't work. It kind of took the focus off of Jesse. And Woody, the whole thing of Woody being old and Woody, like, oh my gosh, and Woody growing like a beer belly. It was just kind of, and the promotion and the marketing for the movie was weird because the movie, they didn't really market it for Jesse. They marketed it for like, here's a Woody stomach jokes, here's a Woody old jokes, here's the, like, you know, and I feel like that's because they know Tim Allen and Tom Hanks are very marketable. They're the two biggest faces of the franchise. Woody and Buzz are the forefront of Toy Story. Jesse is a part of that, but Jesse was introduced in Toy Story 2. Woody and Buzz have been the forefront from the very beginning of this franchise. So I feel like I know why they did that. I just don't like how they did that. I think that it was kind of lazy of how they had Woody and Buzz. And I also want to propose this idea that I think that Woody and Buzz shouldn't have been in the film. Woody, they didn't serve a purpose to me. Same thing with the other group of toys as well. Like, it's hard to do a focused movie on Jesse as an emotional story and also have this idea of tech, and then also Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head and Bonnie's toys and the rest of Andy toys. Like, you know, like, you guys get what I mean. It's a lot of characters to have kind of scrambling around in the plot while you have these new tech devices like Smarty Pants and the other ones. And it's a lot. It's too many new characters to have. So I understand that. So with that being said, the characters in this movie was kind of weak. I felt like the only one that stood out was Jessie. Like, Jessie was the best part of the movie. Like, I kind of like her kind of strong dislike towards Tech, and she had this really strong like anger towards him, but you know, I think the anger wasn't with that. It was the feeling of being rejected again and being felt like she didn't matter, felt like she was just useless. And I think that idea of uselessness being turned into anger and aggression and using that towards someone else, I think that's a really good way to show that because that's realistic. And also the movie has a strong theme about being rejected, about feeling useless in a friendship relationship, and feeling like you're just not needed anymore. And that does speak volumes. That did speak to me. I definitely understood of what the movie was trying to send. I only think that Lily Pad should have played a bigger part in this movie, though. I think if you're trying to convey this message of that whole thing, but also the idea of tech takeover and that kids are shifting their interest from toys to tech, I think you can do that, but Lily Pad didn't serve too much of a purpose. Now, I think that Lily Pad, like, when she was trying to do that whole thing of, like, making Bonnie upset, but she wasn't trying to, I think that, like, in Lily Pad's whole thing of, like, I'm just going to toss myself in a box now, and I don't need Bonnie. Listen, Bonnie already is like, I don't want these toys anymore because nobody plays with them. I don't want to play with them. And then she already feels like she doesn't have much, and then you feel the need to get away from Bonnie too? Now who else does Bonnie have? Now she's really upset. I just think Lily Pad didn't get a strong introduction in this movie, and I think Lily Pad and Jesse should have had a stronger connection. They should have had more scenes together. I felt like they didn't really do much with the two of them. Like, they didn't really, like, interact that much besides the beginning of the film and later in the film. We didn't really see them interact that much, which is kind of weird because I thought the way this movie was marketed, I thought we would see more of Lily Pad throughout the film and Jesse. Kind of this battle between the two of for Bonnie, and it's just kind of like, it kind of reminds me of Inside Out 2, right? Like Inside Out 2 with Riley, how Joy and Sadness were doing that in the first film a little bit until Joy recognized Riley needed Sadness, and that she needs both of them to work, to function. You can't be overly happy, but you can't, obviously be really sad. And then in Inside Out 2, Anxiety feels this need, like, no, I'm good for Riley. I'm doing the best I can for her. And kind of takes over Joy because Joy kind of, that's what Joy feels like. But Anxiety is like, no, I can do it. I need her. Riley needs me. And I think that that's kind of the same case here. Is that Lily Pad is like, I'm good for Jesse. I'm good for Bonnie. And Jesse's like, wait a minute, you can't take my place. So I think that that's very interesting, but I just feel like it could have been stronger. Because to me, the messages between the two movies kind of almost intertwine between Inside Out and Toy Story 5. They kind of intertwine and tell a similar idea of a story, but in different different ways. Enough to still stand out as two different films. Both of them are stellar film franchises, and I think they work. But I can't help but notice that is pretty similar. So that's kind of one of my main issues with Jessie. The whole Jessie Lily Pad thing. But I do think that Jessie really was strong in this film. I think her emotions and that gut-wrenching scene of Bonnie coming up to the house and not wanting Jessie, as Jessie's all excited to go back, was really heartbreaking. That was a strong, powerful scene. I was like, Pixar, that's good. That's really good. But then I feel like the pacing after that just went really fast. Because then Jessie's like, I'm useless, I'm going away, and goes up to the tree where Emily and her used to be at. And then Bullseye goes to follow her. Woody and Buzz end up making it to the house. And then they make it to the house. And the army of Buzzes is back again. And they kind of intervene. And like, hey, what's going on? And Buzz is like, hold on. Like, this old man toy has purpose. Or I forgot. It was some weird, stupid conversation where I was like, do we really need this right now? The tension of a kind of climax. Kind of could have done without him. But I do think that the pacing kind of went too fast after that. Because then when they got there, when they met Jessie at the tree, then before they met Jessie at the tree, Jessie found out that Emily had named her child after her. Which I do think was a really good scene. I think that I am gonna really highlight this because I think that that's a core part of this movie, and that's very important. So it's kind of like when you think you're forgotten, you're really not. You matter a lot to people more than you think. Although Jessie, felt abandoned by Emily, I think that was a really good scene to show that Emily never forgot her. She never forgot the moment she had with her favorite toy growing up. And I think that's important. Someone like me that's played with toys when I was a kid and really, it was my whole world. I think that it shows a strong connection. And I think that really worked. And I thought that was like very, very well thought out. Like, I was like, when I saw the scene, I was like, wow, that's good. I think that's awesome. That's really works for this film. So then we kind of get this whole thing where they meet the tree and they're trying to save Lily Pad as Lily Pad is on the truck going somewhere. And Jessie's like, no, Lily Pad, like, Bonnie needs you too. She needs both of us. because I guess Jessie now feels like Bonnie won't forget about her. She's just, but it's like we go from that to this whole thing of them getting on a highway, picking up lily pad, being sent somewhere. It's like, whoa. It's like, wow, okay, can we slow things down for a second? Like, let's dial it down a bit. Like, because everything from there just felt quick. It felt like that part of the movie to the end was just like, that was it. And I feel like the movie needed something else in between. I can't really explain what, but I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite thing, to be honest with y'all. Just didn't really like that too much. But now I kind of want to dive into a different topic. So, I had a conversation with my friends about this movie. And I feel like my main thing with this film, right, is like that if we wanted to have a Jessie-centered film, we kind of could have done that without Woody and Buzz. And I know I brought that up before, but hear me out. I think that this movie works really well as a spinoff. And I know that this is kind of a weird topic I'm bringing up. So I had this idea of, instead of calling this Toy Story 5, we just say we don't need Woody in it, we don't need Buzz in it, we don't need, the other characters weren't in it anyways, the old Toy Story gang, they were never in a movie to begin with, so barely. So it's like, that doesn't change, but we could have had this be a spin-off movie where we fully focus on Jessie and Jessie only. Kind of like that Toy Story short, that like Toys of Terror or whatever, like kind of fully focus on Jessie. I think this one should have fully focused on Jessie. I think this should have been a full Jessie film, and it could have been like a spin-off, like a Toy Story film or a Toy Story movie. Like, you kind of know how they have like those titles that kind of signify like, oh, it's a story. Like, what's an example? Rogue One of Star Wars. I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but I could have sworn it's like a Star Wars story, and then it's like Rogue One, and I guess that kind of lets people know that this is a story that exists in this series. It's not a main entry, but it's something that points, something that connects it to the story. And I think that that's what they could have done with this film with Jessie. They could have kind of connected Jessie to this Jessie's story to the rest of the Toy Story franchise without having this be a whole new Toy Story entry, and just call it a Jessie spin-off movie. Because I think if you had done that, what would have worked better is that you would have had this idea of like, we don't need any other supporting characters. We don't need Woody and Buzz. We don't need the rest of the Toy Story gang, because you're just focusing on Jessie. So I think if you're just trying to focus on Jessie, do that. That's fine. You don't need the army of Buzzes. You don't need the other toys, because then you're just overfilling the story. And honestly, like, the whole tech thing does set up this whole thing with Jessie, but I'm wondering if it could have been done without tech being brought up. Because I feel like the whole thing with tech wasn't really resolved. Because I guess it's not resolved in real life of whether we know if tech is really going to stay here for kids, or if kids are going to get bored of that too eventually and move on. So I guess that's something to think about. But yeah, I was just kind of thinking about that. Like, what happened if this was just like a spin-off film? Like kind of like Lightyear being a spin-off film. What happened if this one was? And I think if this one was a spin-off film, it might have done better, because it might have been better in terms of the message it was conveying to people. So people then go in this film thinking, I'm getting a new Toy Story entry, and then you're kind of getting the scattered plot with the focus of Jessie, while everybody else is pretty much like not necessary. Because people were like, Woody and Buzz is barely in this one, and they barely, like, yeah, because that's what people expect when they're seeing a Toy Story. You want to see the whole gang together. Like, that's the best part of Toy Story 3, is when we've seen everybody together. Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, Slinky, Rex, everybody working together, because they're all such a core part of the crew. But when you just have a full focus story on Jesse and then the other toys are barely there, but you're calling this Toy Story 5, it really feels like a Jesse movie. Because I think that Toy Story 4, to me, Toy Story 3 was a perfect conclusion, but I think Toy Story 4 offered a conclusion in terms of wrapping up the everybody's story. Kind of. Like wrapping up Woody's story, Woody's purpose. And I think that what would have worked is if we left that as the actual end. But this is more of like an addition. And more of like Jessie just finding her purpose. And now Jessie kind of has this, her conclusion. And especially with Jessie and Buzz getting married in the end, I feel like that would have been better because then they have, all of them have their conclusions. Everybody kind of got their story wrapped up, and it's like, well, what else do we need, right? Like, we don't need anything else. So that's kind of why with this one I'm like, why did we just try to fit so many things into it, like the buzzes and the other stuff, when we could have just kept this as a Jesse movie? And I think that would have done a better film. I think if I view this Toy Story movie as a Toy Story movie and not a Jesse spin-off film, I don't like it so much. I think the plot is scattered too much. The characters don't really matter besides Jesse. And I think that it kind of has this, like, the pacing is kind of like, it's not that good, but the subplot of the buzzes taking screen time makes the film feel like, makes the events of the actual story feel fast. I think if we took that out, I think the events would have felt more fleshed out. The story would have flowed more. But if I look at this movie from a spin-off film, where it's like, yeah, I think I would like it a lot more. I think those are kind of like some of my thoughts of the movie in general. So I kind of give you guys like this stuff that I like, because there's always stuff that I do like in the film, and then there's stuff I just can't really vibe with or don't really find that to work. But I think that there's a lot of things in this movie that does work. I just think that it needed more time in the oven before they took it out. I think that if they fully kind of focus on what they wanted this movie to be, it would have worked better. Like, we could have done the whole tech thing, but I think if we were going to do this tech thing, it shouldn't have been a Jesse-centered story. I think that it works in this sense because it kind of has this setup of tech taking over Jesse's spot, which makes her feel worried. But I think that we could have done something different where we just could have done like a story just like with the toys going against the tech devices in the house and kept a more grounded story. And that would have worked. I think that would have worked better. Or just fully focus on Jesse and kind of have the lily pad introduction, but do it a little stronger. I think either or of those ideas would have worked better than the final product of what we got. Because for me, this movie didn't really do anything special. It didn't really do anything that I enjoyed. It was just kind of like an okay movie. Some of my friends enjoyed this movie a lot, and some of them were like, this movie was alright. Like, some of my friends were giving it 8 out of 10. I just don't see it. That's just my personal opinion. I don't see this movie as an 8 out of 10. I don't even see it as a 7. Maybe a 6. But for me, it was like a 5. But if I view this as a Jesse-centered story, I might view it as a 7, close to 8. But as a Toy Story film, it just doesn't add anything to the franchise. I think Toy Story 4, despite some problems, and I know how people feel strongly about disliking Toy Story 4, but I think it does offer a beautiful conclusion to the story of Toy Story. It does offer a good conclusion of Woody, and I think it does offer a lot of new stuff. The new characters like Ducky, or whatever Duck's name in Bunny, was really funny because it was voiced by Key and Peele. I think they were a really good introduction to the movie, and I don't know. I feel like Toy Story 4 was just really vibrant and really fun. And Forky, I adored Forky. I'm not gonna lie, I love Forky. I think his whole thing of like kids bringing toys to life with their imagination was great. I love that. And in Toy Story 5, it just doesn't add anything new that I feel like stuck out to me. It just kind of like, after I finished it, I just was like, okay. And went about my day. And did whatever I did. When I left that theater, I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel like that was a movie. Like, I'm gonna sit and think about that. It was just kind of one of those, like, all right, that was good. I only started thinking about it because I wanted to make a video just expressing my opinion. But I think this is kind of, I'm going to do a little format of these. I do really want to do a tier list as a next video. So I kind of wanted to do something like that. But for this one, I want to do something a little different, a little bit more fun. Something a little bit more simple for my first video. I think a sit-down video works really well, and I think that it gets a message across of what I wanted. But yeah, so kind of to end this video, overall, I just want to say that I'm really excited for the rest of this channel and this other stuff that I will be reviewing. I want to do more stuff like reviewing older films that I have seen that I truly love, but also kind of going into this, like, finishing Spider-Man, here are my thoughts. Finishing this movie, here are my thoughts. Like, whenever a new movie comes out, because I think, like, that's kind of what I did here, is gave you guys, like, off the head, off the dome review. Like, here's everything I remember after I just seen it, and here's how I feel. So I definitely want to do that more going forward, but I think, like, I want to go back and go over some older videos, older movies, and go do some older stuff. There's a lot there, and do some rankings. Like I really do want to do a Pixar ranking, because there's a lot of films of Pixar that I like, and Soul is a movie that I definitely want to make a video on. I want to make a video on, like, I just don't feel like enough people talked about that. Like, Soul was such a strong movie to me, and it was definitely one of, I think, my favorite Pixar movie of the new era of the 2020s. So yeah, but to kind of end this off, I give Toy Story 5 a 5 out of 10. It was just an okay entry. It didn't do anything for me. Didn't offer a really good conclusion either. Like, the movie ends, and I just feel like, well, I guess we'll get a Toy Story 6. It'll feel like the real conclusion, because this one doesn't feel like an end. It feels like if this was a Toy Story 4, and Toy Story 4 was 5, like, let's say they swapped places, that would have been perfect, because then everybody got their wrap up. But for some, and then, like, because then we could have kept Woody in a room, and if we kept Woody there, we wouldn't have to deal with this whole Woody being split off from the gang, and then it would make sense for him to split off at the end. Like, Jesse, you got it now. Like, you are full charge. I think that would have worked out better. And Jessie would have been, like, now feeling good about herself, because now she feels like she doesn't have this insecurity about being forgotten. Yeah. I don't know, guys. I was really hoping Toy Story 5 was going to be a lot better than it was. Like, from the trailer, I remember, like, I was like, okay, wait. At first, I didn't like the idea of Toy Story 5. Then I was like, okay, this is good. And then the movie came out, and then I'm like, never mind. I was disappointed. But, yeah. 5 out of 10 movie for me. Didn't really move me, but I hope I at least try to remain kind of in the middle. Like, I know I kind of ranted about my problems, but I also wanted to make sure that I was being authentic and expressing to you guys, like, the stuff that I liked about the film, because the stuff I liked worked. I think the stuff that was there was good. I just think it just needed more time to develop the story and figure out what the story wanted to be. Yeah. So on that note, we will come back to some more stuff throughout the next couple of weeks. Since it's my first video, I'm not expecting many people to watch this, and this was a really long video for my first one too. So, kind of, who knows? But I hope if you end up watching this all the way through, or at least some parts of it, I hope you gain some insight about my opinion and what worked and what didn't work, and I at least hope I made it sound interesting. So, yeah. Alright, but thanks guys for watching. If you stayed here to the end, there's some more stuff, and that I will be working on, and hopefully that you like hearing about my opinion. You all have opinions on film, so I'm definitely wanting to hear you guys on what you think in the comments and how you feel about it. If you think I'm wrong on something, you are more than well to you're more well welcome to fix a mistake I made and something I said. Like, I don't have a script, guys. I'm gonna be real. I'm a full thinker on this, so yeah. But thanks, guys. Seriously, this is gonna be fun, and I'm doing this to boost my skills and thinking critically on films and thinking about what I like and don't like, because I think expressing them verbally just helps. It helps, especially with where I'll be going. So, thanks, guys. I'll be seeing y'all later. Peace.